Okay, so I thought I would do a step-by-step video on the Pamper Chef quick cooker in making chicken and dumplings. And the first step is to put the chicken in. I've got about 1.5 pounds, just a little under 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. There are 3 larger breasts. I have 1 onion that you can see that has been chopped and put into the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to spray the chicken with the garlic infused canola oil using the kitchen spritzer, and then I'm going to add the crushed peppercorn and garlic rub and the 3 onion rub. I'm then going to turn the quick cooker to the sear setting, and I'm going to reduce the time to 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm just going to split that in half. I'm just going to do 7 minutes. I will put the lid on when I turn on the sear. So that will be step number 1. Also, no matter what you're cooking, I highly recommend starting on the sear setting for 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how much food. The more food, you just add a couple of more minutes. That brings the pot to pressure quicker and is a great shortcut in cutting down the time to build pressure on the unit. Now the chicken has been sprayed with the garlic oil. We'll now add the rubs, crushed peppercorn and garlic, just on one side. There's no need to turn the chicken over, the steak over, the pork over. Next is 3 onion. And we'll add 3 onion. 3 onions smell so good. And it's almost out, so I'm just going to remove the lid. And use the rest. Now, we're going to place the lid on. There's no fluid in here. There's no fluid. Put the lid on. Make sure the valve is closed. And now we're going to the sear setting. The unit is now on sear for 7 minutes. Okay, so the sear setting is almost complete. And as you can see, the red pressure valve is up, which indicates that the lid is locked, but it also indicates that you have significant pressure built up inside of the unit. So as soon as this timer goes off, we're going to switch the unit from the sear setting, and we can go to 2 different settings I'm going to show you. If you'll also notice, once your timer goes off, you go into a warming stage. So let's hit cancel. We can hit the custom button right here. And when we hit the custom button, 30 minutes pops up. You also see that we have full pressure. These bars indicate the amount of pressure. The center represents the pot. The more bars you have, the higher the pressure setting, the faster the cooking. We're also able to go to the chicken and poultry, or to any selection that we'd like to. And if you'll notice, on chicken and poultry, you have full pressure setting, and you also have a 15-minute cook time. So we're just going to use this for this particular recipe, but just remember, you can use custom, and you can set the amount of time, no matter what you're cooking, at a full pressure level. Okay, so it will only take about a minute or so, since we've preheated the pot with the sear setting, for our unit to actually come under pressure and to start cooking. As soon as that happens, the time pops up on the screen and it starts the countdown. Okay, and as you can tell, the timer is now up. That took about 1 minute between the settings of sear, cancel, and then starting the cook time on the chicken and poultry setting. Okay, so now we're going to release the pressure off the cooker. And it's already been setting a few minutes on warming. It will keep your food warm up to 4 hours after the process is over, the cooking process. Isn't that cool? You notice there wasn't a whole lot of steam because it had already gone into the warming process, which is pretty cool. So let's open the top to get our next recipe done. There is our chicken. All right, awesome. Our chicken is done. We're gonna remove the chicken. I'm gonna put the chicken over here in this batter bowl. And you see that we have some stock, which is really cool. And what we're gonna do now, so there's our chicken. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna make a roux. Okay, so we've removed the stock, and we have almost 2 cups of stock that came out of the chicken. Also have some vegetable broth because that's what we're gonna add to add extra fluid to the dish. I've got about half of stick of butter cubed up and 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. So the first thing that we're gonna do next is we're going to go back to the sear setting and we're gonna turn it down from 20 minutes because we only need just a few minutes. Now what we're doing now for this next step is to make a roux. So to make a roux, we need to add the butter. I'm also going to use my nylon mix and masher. That's item number 2685. We're going to add a little bit of the flour. Okay. And we're going to add just a little bit of our stock. Now, this has onions in it, and that's okay. And as you can tell, the butter had already started to slide over the pan, is warm. So this is making a roux. This also is how you would start to make a homemade gravy from scratch by using a little bit of butter or shortening and all-purpose flour. And you don't want to use self-rising flour, so make sure you're using all-purpose. You could also put some salt and pepper in the roux. I'm not going to do that today just because I have other seasonings that we're using on the chicken, and I really don't need to add any salt or pepper right now. So all you do to make your roux on sear, because that heats the pot, this is going to allow us to heat this up pretty quick and do this in just a minute or 2. As that thickens, what you want to do is continue to add a little bit of the stock. And you don't want to add all of it at one time. You want to add it, and now the rest of the flour. You want to add it as you're going along. Okay? The thickness of this will determine the thickness of the actual broth. And this is a chicken and dumplings, so we don't want to make chicken soup. That's why we're doing this roux, so that we will have some consistency in our chicken and dumpling recipe. Okay? So just continue to stir that. And like I say, this is only going to take you a couple of minutes to do. So I'm getting ready to turn this off. I'm going to add a little bit more fluid. Now this is a 32-ounce box of vegetable broth that we will end up using in our recipe. And just stir that together. Okay? And that's how you will make gravy. And that's also how you make your starter here for your chicken and dumplings. I'm going to chop up the chicken, and we're going to be adding that next. This is what your roux looks like when it's complete. I've chopped up the chicken with the salad choppers. And remember to lift and chop. You can just keep chopping to your desired consistency. You don't want to get it too fine because you want to be able to taste the chicken in the recipe. And then we have some sour cream, about 1/4 cup. some Texas Pete. And these are Grands flaky. These, however, were in the freezer section because they didn't have the canned ones. So whether you use the freezer flaky Grands or you use the canned flaky Grands, either one will be fine because these are going to puff up. So you want to take your chicken and you want to add that. So let's add that to the roux. And let's use the tongs here to help us get the chicken out. And just kind of sprinkle the chicken all in there. So we have the roux, the chicken. We're going to sprinkle some Texas Pete. Now, even if you're not a hot sauce fan, you don't particularly like hot sauce, it's okay. I don't eat hot sauce on anything but this recipe right here, okay? So it does make a difference in the flavor and the taste if you leave out the hot sauce. So I'm going to encourage you not to. You don't need a whole lot. And some people are like, woo, that's a bunch. Not really, because we are adding broth. So that's what that looks like. Okay. And then you're going to stir in the sour cream. So now you're going to stir in the sour cream. And just kind of fold all of that together. Remember, we don't have to be perfect. We're just pampered. Now, this is going to make a lot of food, so just want you to not prejudge and think that you don't have enough food to feed your family. So again, we're using vegetable broth. We're just going to pour the remaining fluid into the roux and the chicken, the sour cream, and the hot sauce, okay? Now remember, we added the crushed peppercorn and garlic and the 3 onion rub to the chicken and the onion mixture, and we cooked that separately, okay? So, we cook that separately. And then, last but not least, we'll add all of our biscuit pieces, okay? And you don't have to do it super, super fancy. You can just throw them all in there, just like that. Okay, so now we've added the biscuits. We've stirred everything together. And now we're going to add our lid, making sure that our valve is always closed, okay? And remember, going to the sear setting always accelerates preheating. So we're going to go back to the sear setting, and we are going to adjust the time. And we're just going to do that for 3 to 5 minutes. Remember, 3 to 5 minutes. And I typically just do 5 as a default. Okay, so we're just going to go right back to the chicken and poultry setting and hit start. And our chicken and dumplings should be ready in about 15 minutes. Okay, so the chicken and dumplings are done. There's no pressure left. Okay, sometimes you do have to wiggle. Look at those chicken and dumplings, okay? Now what I like to do next is just to take a little bit of the chipotle rub and just sprinkle that on the top. And you can do that or not do that, totally optional to you. And that's what that looks like. Yum.